I'm Aaron Moseley, the studio manager of the Iowa Ceramic Center and Glass Studio. We're a nonprofit serving Cedar Rapids for over 40 years. We're a place where creativity and community meet, and today I'll be showing you how to trim a cup. So today I threw this cup. It's a little chunky on the bottom here, just like these I had previously cut in half. So you can see a lot of this thickness is on the bottom portion there. So I'm going to come back with these special tools and trim away some of that extra material. Again, just like when you're throwing, centering is going to be one of the most important parts. So it's going to be a little bit trickier than doing with the wet clay, because I can't just go ahead and lean on it. So I still got plenty of wobble on this. So I'm going to give it a couple taps until it gets in the right spot. And how I like to gauge that is I'll use my index finger, and wherever it's coming around and tapping, and that's the high point, so I'll turn my wheel off and see a little scooch that direction until I find that it's nice and on center. A little tap while it's done too, it's called tap centering. Now we're going to be a little closer. Once I've got it centered to a spot that I like, I'll take some clay wads and I'll attach those to the wheel head here. Otherwise, centrifugal force is going to take it, just throw the pot wherever once I kick on some speed here. So let's take a couple little clay coils and make sure they're really well adhered to the wheel head. I'm not really too worried about getting stuck to the pot itself. And then with these two trimming tools, I like to start with the larger loop tool first. I'll come in and just clean off this bottom portion, and then I'll come in and carve a foot on. So when I'm doing that, I like to give some down pressure with my index finger straight down. Otherwise, you throw off the center of gravity of the piece by pushing it off real from the top there. So to get started, I want to make sure my wheel's spinning first. You don't want to start with your tool on the piece and then start trimming. Otherwise, it gets a little wobbly there. So giving plenty of down force, I'm just going to slowly start trimming off. And I got all these nice curls coming off. That's how I know I've got a nice consistency to start trimming. If it's a little bit too wet when you trim, it'll be all goopy. So that's kind of the trickier thing about trimming too, is having that timing right when you come back and do this step. So you don't want to take away too much too quick. It's just a slow game of removing a little bit of clay. I knocked it off a little bit, so let's give it a little re-snug it onto the wheel head here. I like to use the tip of this tool to start, and I can remove a nice amount of material. But that leaves all these throwing lines or trimming lines. So to get rid of that, then I'll use this main angle here and come back and just clean everything up. You can use these curves for your advantage, so I like to give a little bit of a little curve on the base there. So I'll really just focus on this bottom portion. If you look at these pieces here, I've got a lot of clay to play with before I trim and make it too thin. So I'll just keep working on that until I get a nice curve that I'm satisfied with. Careful not to take off too much at a time. I'm taking off plenty, but I'm not going too deep. I'll come back and just give these a quick cleanup. I'm not just using one part of the tool, I'm kind of using the different curves that are in the tool to make all these different angles happen. Just trim up and clean up the bottom a little bit. And for this, I got a little chunky foot here too, so I want to remove this material here. So there's just a little less weight on the bottom of that piece when you're using it. So for that, I'll use a smaller trim tool, and I'm just going to keep on pushing down slowly. The tricky part about this is now that I'm working the center, it's going to be difficult for me to give any downward pressure with an index finger. So I kind of use my ring finger on my left hand to get as close as I can to the center. And I'm just real lightly pushing down, bringing that out to the edge. And I'm careful not to make this is my foot I'm creating. I don't want that to be too thin. I like it to kind of reference the thickness of the lip here. So I want to push that a little bit thinner. And that's just less clay on the surface area of your coffee table. A little less weight on the piece as you're using it, so it's a little lighter in your hand. And I also like to have feet on my cups, just so when I'm holding it, I can kind of play with it with my pinky. And so this is a smaller tool, so it's going to leave a lot of little tool marks on there. So I'll come back to my wooden rib here, and I'll just take that and just give it a little bit of compression. try to get rid of any of those tool marks that I've left. I'm removing a little bit of clay when I do that, but more than anything, I'm just compressing this, and that's going to prevent any S cracks from developing in the future, as in the kiln. So when it's done, I've refined the foot quite a bit more from how it had started. So you can start with a cylinder, leave it nice and chunky, and then come back and refine a nicer shape. So there's plenty of ways to throw. That's just one of the ways I do it.